Welcome to the Frisco podcast and welcome to Beth Crain with Beyond Pilates. We're talking health and fitness today. Welcome, Beth. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So we have talked to you before on the Frisco podcast, but a lot has changed. A lot has changed in everybody's lives, but I want to learn to see what's changed and how things have evolved over at Beyond since we last talked to you here. So can you just kind of get us started with sort of the basics, first of all, of who you are and introduce yourself to us and how you're connected to Beyond?
Absolutely. Well, I am Beth, and I am the owner of Beyond Pilates here in Frisco. We opened at the very end of 2017, so we're coming up on our third birthday, which we're super excited about. And this year we're celebrating by adding our second studio in West Frisco. So I think we'll talk about that a little later in the podcast. Anyways, I have an amazing team of instructors and studio staff and an on-staff nutrition coach over at Beyond. And we work with men and women from like 16 to senior citizens every week and just help everyone get stronger and stay healthy.
Well, one of the people that you have worked with is me recently. So yes. One thing I guess, to communicate to the audience, a couple words that remind me of being in there. So work zone. So these teachers get you in these positions and you work really specific muscle groups, and then they hit you with the surprise that you're about to get into a work zone and you're going to pulse or do these other movements. So I feel those for days, and I love that though. I love feeling sore. You feel you can tell you did something yes. Good. So give me sort of the philosophy on these moves and how going to Beyond is different than maybe hitting a yoga studio or doing just HIIT classes at a gym or all the other things that people do for fitness.
Yes. So people walk into the studio all the time and are like, I need to do Pilates and I need to stretch. And our first reaction is always like, oh, well, we're not exactly a stretching studio. You do work on your flexibility while you're there, but really by nature, Pilates is meant for strength training and resistance training in a low impact environment. So you're not like jumping up and down and pounding on your joints, which gets important as we get older. So our classes are 45-minute format, always using equipment. So you'll either be using our Pilates reformers, which have been fully customized to the way that we run our classes at Beyond, or the Pilates chair. And then we throw in some other accessories to keep it interesting. You'll always get a full body workout. So you're going with the reformer studio in our signature 45-minute class, you're going to get upper body, lower body, and core every time you go Beyond. And then we also have a studio that's more like Pilates interval training, which combines Pilates chairs with kettlebells for like an amazing calorie torching 30-minute session. And that is either your abs and arms format or abs and ass. And that one is just like drenching sweat. I don't think you were able to do it when you were in the studio this month, but I'm back.
Well, just because I didn't do that one doesn't mean I wasn't drenching sweat. I was drenching sweat with the basic class. So
I love it. And it's not basic. And I think what's amazing about the way we teach our classes at Beyond, what I found, because I was a client at the Dallas studio before we talked to the woman who created it and were able to bring it up to Frisco. So I loved that everything was set to music. It's like a rhythm-based Pilates class, kind of like, I don't know, Soul Cycle on a reformer.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though we were in Dallas before Soul Cycle was. So credit to Brandy Marino for creating our concept. But the classes fly by because of the music. And like, even if you're in the worst of it, like, you're talking about those little work zones where like you've been doing something like one move for like 45 seconds and you feel like your arm or your leg is about to fall off. And then you have that work zone coming and you're like, well, if you take classes a lot, you also know that's kind of like your final cue of like, okay, I've got like 10 or 15 more seconds. I can get through this. Like, I'm not going to quit because we're going to work zone. And then you're also, probably have a song that you can either sing along to or just like help motivate you through class along with the instructors. So I think that's what makes us just fun.
Yeah. And, there's some pain, getting through 15 seconds at a time of, short-term pain is easy to get past mentally. And you mentioned the full body. I think that's another part of it So you're in there for 45 minutes, but you're not just going to like a legs class, which I have done, done that at some gyms, and you're not just going to just burn out arms and back or whatever. You kind of, I don't know if they do it in thirds, right? But there's going to be arms maybe at the beginning and ab work throughout or whatever. And then maybe you switch to legs or different parts. So you kind of get through each piece. And it hurts.
And you're done with it. Yes.
Hard, and then you move on to a larger,
yes.
Different body section. So I love that, to where you're working everything the whole time, but it's still focused sort of in those chunks during the class, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And our format is like super intentional like that, because there's nothing worse, like for me, than being in a class and you're like, what do you mean we're going back to legs? I thought my leg, can't even feel my leg anymore. I thought we were done with that. I don't have any more to give you. So we try to really pull you on that journey through class, because it's an experience. And then, when you're done, you move on to the next group. Check.
Yes. So now I do have to ask, what does the COVID safe version of Beyond look like? I hope that it's not a long-term look, and I hope that it's not something that we even look back on this and go, oh yeah. I hope it's short-term, but I know we've already been 6 months into this. And so I'm curious to hear what you've had to do as a business owner to shift into, staying open now, or I'm sure you closed, but tell me what that happened, what that looked like and what it looks like now.
So the whole journey has been interesting. I don't even know what to say. We actually were talking right before we turned on filming so we're filming this in the middle of September. So 6 months ago, we closed the studio, and it feels like yesterday, and it feels like a really long time ago. So I, fortunately, I own my own studio, but I'm not like one woman out on an island. I talk to owners all over the country, and also, even some international owners. So through one of my business coaching groups that's all fitness studio owners, we heard about this in January when it was happening in China. And I was trying to rattle the bells with some of the owners I talked to locally and across the country. And everyone was like head in the sand, like, just Windex, just spray some Windex, you'll be fine. And I'm like, guys, I think this is going to be a big deal here. So what happened is we came through March. If you remember, the very first positive case of COVID was in Frisco, the very first case in all of Dallas-Fort Worth. And when that happened, I was like, to my management team, I was like, guys, get ready. We're going to be closing soon. And we ended up closing on Sunday night, March 15th. We sent the email out, and we only closed because, one, flattened the curve, that whole thing. But we really closed because at that point, I had no idea what to do. Just like total transparency. I had no idea what to do if a client got it, if an instructor got it. I had no idea how to prevent it or keep it from spreading. And so we closed for 11 weeks. And I went out and hired a consultant who did work with a ton of Asian studios and was already kind of most of the way through it as their studios were starting to open again in early spring. And she had worked with like doctors, scientists, immunologists, health hazard, OSHA, way beyond my expertise. And we worked with her to craft a reopening plan that we felt like was safe. And we waited until I think Governor Abbott let fitness studios open like March 18th. And at Beyond, we ended up waiting until June the 1st, just to make sure we had really good systems in place. Because the most important thing to me as an owner, like, I want my clients to be safe, but more than anything, I wanted my staff to feel comfortable and safe coming back. And I know a ton of studios across the country lost a lot of their instructor talent because people did not feel comfortable coming back. And I'm happy to say at Beyond, we had 8 out of 9 instructors come back, which was amazing. And the only person who didn't, had lived with a high risk individual. And so it just wasn't physically possible for her to come back.
That says a lot. That says a lot about you as a team leader, taking the extra time to make sure everything is in place, per what your consultant said. That's fantastic that you went out and got outside resources and information too. Yeah. And so I've, watched all your communications during all that. And so when you did come out, you kind of, you came out really buttoned up and ready to go. And in addition to limiting the number of people who can register and spacing these reformer tables out, those are the big things, I'm guessing. What else did you do?
Yeah, so the big things on the back end. So for staff, they all get temperature checked when they come into the studio every day, and they have to just stay up on, answering all the good questions about, do you have a sore throat? Have you been exposed to anyone? All those fun questions we all answer everywhere we go now. So we really stay on top of them. They stay in full protective gear when they're teaching. So they have gloves on, and as you saw in class, they teach with the face shields. Just because it just helps keep them safe. And they're the ones that are the most exposed because they're there every day. And then for clients, what's different when you come in versus, back before, we used to have 12 reformers in our studio, and they were not socially distanced 6 feet apart. So we put 4 reformers in storage. And so we now have 8 in class now. So we've got smaller class sizes. You're always at least 6 feet apart. And over at our, little pop-up studio, we're actually like 8 to 10 feet apart because we have a little more room in there. So there's tons of personal space, and gloves were mandatory when we opened. And then we were able to replace our loops, used to be cloth. And the company that made our equipment came out with like very easy wiping vinyl ones. So now everything you touch can be wiped down easily. We deep clean 4 times a day now, on top of the athletic wipes. And really with Pilates, the awesome thing is you come into the studio, you have your mask on, you can take it off once you get to your equipment when you're safely apart from other people. And then you are only touching your equipment for that class. So you walk in, you know that your equipment was sanitized, disinfected, completely cleaned since the last person was there, and it will be completely clean, disinfected after you leave before the next person comes in.
And you don't move around.
No.
It's not a situation where you're moving from a bar to an section of the room or something like that. Rotating, and I know that's pretty common in some types of gyms. You're on your reformer and you're just using it the whole time.
And it's enough. You don't need
enough.
You don't need to go anywhere else to get an awesome workout. And that's how our classes have always been. So I feel like Pilates is just naturally a good modality to be doing right now. And then you do get sweaty, but it's not the huffing and puffing of running on a treadmill or rowing or doing that really high intensity, like cardiovascular, because that is a concern right now, just honestly.
Right.
I have fun facts to share with you, which I just read this week.
Okay.
Not from our studio, but just for anyone out there, whether you're interested in Beyond or whether you've been nervous to go back to your own gym or your own studio. The International Health and Racquet Association, they did a study over the summer, and it was 2,700 gyms, fitness studios in the United States that cumulatively had over 49 million visits from June to the end of August. And they found that the incident of COVID in all of those places was 0.0023%.
That's
so
good.
While the government has tried to like paint fitness as like an unsafe place to be right now, I think my advice is like, if you were going somewhere that does a really good job of cleaning and you feel good with their procedures and you see people in protective gear and you're taking those precautions, like it's unhealthier to not be working out.
Right. That's what I was thinking when you mentioned that stat. I'm thinking, well, yes, everything can be, I guess, dangerous too, but also the nature of an already healthy person going in to stay healthy is part of the strong immune system that is helps in fighting when you do get any strain of anything.
Yes. And also like this, we know is, a disease, it's a virus that is wreaking havoc on people who are obese, who have diabetes, who have heart conditions, and all of that can get better with exercise. One of my favorite things that's happened since we reopened, we had a very, very loyal member who did every single video workout we did together, while we were closed for 11 weeks. And then she never came back to the studio. And I was like, where is this person? We need to call and check in on her. And she dodged our calls and didn't answer our text messages. And then one day the studio door opens and she walks inside and we're like, we're so happy to see you. What's up? And she goes, I just drove here straight from my doctor's office because I went in for my physical and he looked at me and he was like, what is wrong with you? All of your stats are worse than they were last year. And she goes, well, I haven't been to Pilates since March. And he goes, why not? And she was like, because of COVID. And he was like, no. If that's what you do and you love, like, you need to be in there 3 times a week like you were. And she drove straight from her doctor's office to our studio and turned her membership back on.
That's awesome. See, she needs it. She needed it to stay healthy.
Yeah, but it was like her blood pressure was higher, her like everything was like, her weight was higher, everything had gone the wrong direction.
Yeah,
so
when you stop,
we're turning it around.
Yeah, your body reacts when you stop working out sometimes.
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned a pop-up studio and you mentioned West Frisco. I just want to get a quick update. Is the pop-up studio, well, where is that? And is that a permanent thing, or is this temporary until West Frisco happens? So give us the lowdown on the locations.
Okay, so for those listeners, longtime listeners and fans, the last time I was on the podcast, we were super excited because we were about to open our cardio Pilates format in spring 2020. And that came and went, right? But we had signed a lease for an awesome location at 4th Army in Lebanon. So it's kind of like, halfway between like Starwood and the Tribute. So if you live near Phillips Creek Ranch or any of those places, we're coming to your neighborhood soon. And with COVID, we had to obviously pivot and pivot again. So what we had planned to be our bigger cardio studio with treadmills and some other equipment, I don't feel safe opening right now because I don't should be running indoors until. So what we are able to do is we are going to be moving our reformer studio from Legacy in Lebanon, where we've been for 3 years, to Lebanon and 4th Army. So we're literally going a mile west down the road to where we have a much bigger studio. We'll have a huge retail space in the lobby, which we're really known for our my cute t-shirt, all of our cute workout gear that we stock. And we'll have a bigger space for that, but we'll also have room to put up to 14 reformers. So that's 2 more than we've ever had into the studio and keep them 6 feet apart permanently. So we're just going to be social distanced forever because we've also grown accustomed to having a little extra room and we like spreading out. So we are moving everything down there. That will happen around holiday time. We're about to start construction any day now. And then our pop-up studio came as a necessity this summer because we reopened and all of our classes were waitlisted for like weeks. And that's not a good experience when you have new clients who want to come in and try you out, or people who decided to return a couple weeks late, and it was really hard to get them into class. So we hired and trained 5 amazing new instructors who, as of next Monday, will all be on the schedule. And we're super excited to welcome them to our family. So we have, I think we're up to 12 instructors in our instructor team. And then I went to my landlord and I was like, I've got some equipment. I need extra space. Like, what can you do for me? And there was an empty location in our same shopping center. So in the Kroger shopping center at Legacy and Lebanon, where we are, Beyond Pilates, our reformer studio, has big signage up in front of it. And then a couple doors down, there's no signage because it's temporary, is our pop-up studio. So that's where we have that kettlebell and Pilates chair class. It's the 30-minute format. So if you've got your kids at home with you this year, we really wanted like an express class format where like it was down and dirty, get it done in 30 minutes. So we were able to take the equipment from the cardio studio, except not the treadmills, and do this pop-up studio. We've been open since, I think, the first week of August, and we'll be there until we open the new studio. And then that equipment will move into our old studio at Legacy in Lebanon.
You're just shuffling the deck, moving everything around. We're just shuffling.
Yeah. We've got some locations that are luckily really close together for our longtime members, and we're doing the best we can in the pandemic. And then hopefully in the future, it will be safe to open our Beyond 500 format. So we're super excited to bring that to Frisco at some point.
Yeah, that is exciting. It's exciting, all the different formats that you're able to offer. And I caught wind of something the other day I want to let you tell us about, an upcoming challenge. And I feel like it has something to do with nutrition. So that's something I didn't know too much about with you guys. So tell me what this challenge is.
I will. So quick little rundown. We were so fortunate that at the beginning of 2019, Lisa Nelson joined our family at Beyond. And Lisa is not only a well-known instructor in the area, she teaches Pilates at our studio, but she also is a certified fitness nutritionist. So that is someone who is able to come up with a personalized meal plan for you and prescribe not only a meal plan, but a workout plan that works together to build lean muscle mass and lose body fat. And so she's been working just one-on-one with nutrition clients, which is something we have that's ongoing for almost 2 years now and getting absolutely amazing results. I think she's worked with like 50 or 60 clients. So this 6-week challenge starts October the 5th. And if you have not been to Beyond before, or if you're returning after a while, you can get unlimited classes and 6 weeks of nutrition coaching with Lisa, all for one discounted price. So it's a great value. And we have a limited, by the time this airs, we may even be sold out, but we have a limited amount of spots because Lisa devotes so much one-on-one time to each of her nutrition clients. And I mean, I've done it with her. When we opened the studio, my son was 2 months old. And a year later, I had still quite not gotten back to where I wanted to be. And she whipped my butt in shape in like 6 weeks, just working. I didn't even, usually it's a 4-month program for outside clients. But within 6 weeks, like I was so happy with where she had gotten me. And just the accountability of having to like come in every week and be like, here's what I ate. I got my workouts in. I didn't get my workouts in. And she's so good. Like we had a client at one point who traveled a ton for work, and she would literally come in with the restaurant menus and be like, Lisa, I have to take clients out. This is the restaurant they picked. What am I going to eat? And they would sit there and like make a plan so that she walked into that restaurant like confident, knowing like I'm going to get the salmon with no this and no that and veggies on the side. And
that's a
huge.
really
And
big,
yes.
tool to have in your tool belt to know the nutrition part of it. Well,
yes, because it really is like it's a lifestyle. So what we don't want is a 6-week crash diet where everyone puts it back on by Christmas. Like we want to make healthy lifestyle changes.
Yes, for the long haul.
Yes.
Well, that sounds great. So by the time this does publish, if it's full, they can still reach out to you guys at Beyond Pilates and find out, how to get in on the next one or how to go ahead and just jump in and do some trial classes and see if what membership is right for you and get the full, Beyond experience from you guys.
Yes.
Well, thank you for your time. I love the updates. Good
Thank
luck
you,
with
Kelly.
all the growth. That's very exciting for you guys. So next time we have you on, you're going to have like 4 locations up and running by then.
I hope so.